Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the annual town meeting of the town of West Bridgewater for 2017. The hour now being 7 o'clock, I will call this meeting to order and ask the Reverend Carol Ashton of the First Church to come forward with the invocation.
Let us pray. Gathering Spirit, we thank you for bringing us together for our town meeting and for the many ways in which each and every one of us in this room has contributed to the upbuilding of our community. Unite us in mind and heart. As we attend to matters before us, help us to listen to ourselves and to each other. Grant us the wisdom of discernment and the voice to speak. Bless us as we make decisions for the commonwealth, common good, and well-being of our town. Amen.
Thank you. I would now ask the Boy Scouts of Troop 25 to present the colors and to ask the Girl Scout to come forward to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now Brittany Churchill will sing the national anthem.
There we go. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Brittany, to our Girl Scout and to the Scouts of Troop 25. Thank you for being here and for your service tonight. Whereas it has pleased Almighty God to call from our midst since the last annual town meeting several public servants, let us pause for a moment of silence to honor the memory of those town employees, elected and appointed officials, and honorees. Doris Corazzini, Boston Post cane recipient; Joan Johnson, Director of the Council on Aging; Paul McMahon, Election Warden; Edward V. Brulad, Water Department; Arthur Shaves, Town Accountant; Howard R. Anderson, Police Chief; Thomas W. Hunt, Fire Department; Janet Bolio, Council on Aging Secretary. Thank you. You may be seated. I would ask if you have cell phones that are on, you put them into silent mode. I also want to thank Tracy and Mallory from the Selectman's Office for the work they've done to prepare for this evening, as well as Town Administrator David Gagney, to the Board of Selectmen, to the Finance Committee, and to everyone who helps make this night possible, to Dr. Oakley and the school department and their staff, to John Collins for PA and lighting, for Ben Smith and his staff from West Bridgewater Cable. Your work is greatly appreciated, and we thank you. I would now like to ask the town clerk to read the return of the warrant for the annual town meeting.
To either of the constables of West Bridgewater in the county of Plymouth, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I hereby direct you to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of West Bridgewater qualified to vote in elections and town affairs to meet at the West Bridgewater High School auditorium in said town on June 12, 2017 at 7 p.m. and then there to act on the following articles, to wit. Pursuant to within the warrant, I have notified this day and warned the inhabitants of the town of West Bridgewater qualified to vote in elections and town affairs to meet at the time and place within mentioned by posting 15 attested copies of within warrant at various locations throughout Precinct 1 and 2, 7 days at least before the aforesaid town meeting. Bruce L. Holmquist, Constable, Town of West Bridgewater.
Thank you. And one other announcement, the chairman of our Board of Selectmen, Jerry Lawrence, is unable to be with us tonight as he is on a disabled aircraft down in the Carolinas. So Anthony Kinahan will be acting as chairman of the Board of Selectmen. And Mr. Kinahan, you have the first articles.
Move that the town consider Articles 1 through 10 as printed on the warrant as a single consent article, with the upper limit on Article 3 established at $40,000, the upper limit on Article 4 established at $28,000, the upper limit on Article 5 established at $4,000, the upper limit on Article 6 established at $12,000, the upper limit on Article 7 established at $100,000, the upper limit on Article 8 established at $18,500, the upper limit on Article 9 established at $15,000, and the upper limit on Article 10 established at $400,000.
Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded. Consent articles, for those of you who are unfamiliar, are historically passed as a group, and I will ask the FinCom for their recommendation.
Recommended unanimously by the 6 members present.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would the Selectmen or the FinCom like to speak to the motion? And then any voters wish to speak to the motion? And the microphone is down front this evening, so if you would come down if you do. Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in
Denise Grace, 48 Columbus Avenue. I have a question regarding Article 10. I realize it's just authorization to spend the money if needed, but since we were assured the $400,000 was basically a savings account, why do we need to have this article?
So the $400,000 is not money we actually already have at this point. This is money that we're going to be collecting as part of our revolving account. So if you recall, when we set up the account, they're going to pay us that $333,000 per year, and then we're going to have to then pay that bond. So 2 through 10 are all revolving account articles, meaning the money comes in, and instead of going into the general fund, it goes into a special account, and then we in turn just pay those bills.
Thank you.
Mr. Conlon.
Neil Connolly, 376 Walnut Street. On Article 10, again, the monies that come in, that's for the golf course. Where do they come from? I mean, delinquency on taxes, people turning these bottles, cans, I don't know.
Nope, so $333,000 will be collected every single year as part of the payment that the management company owes us. So that money will come in, we'll then have to pay the bond, and we set up at $400,000 because we should never have to get that high, but you're going to see this every single year as you do with 2 through 9. So in one particular year, let's, again, I believe we have a really good contract. But if that management company, for whatever reason, begins to default and we have to engage legal counsel, I have to have the flexibility to immediately be able to expend funds to be able to go after them. So that's why we set the limit higher, so that way we have flexibility in the future if we ever need it.
But, so all this, we're going to put the money up front first, and they'll reimburse us in the end?
Nope.
Am I missing something?
Nope. They're going to pay us, and then we'll pay the bond just like we do on all of our other bills.
And if I'm still in order, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
So we have signed a purchase agreement sale on that golf course. We own it now? It's
We do.
officially ours?
We do.
And one other thing, if I'm still in order, Mr. Chairman, the clubhouse, things like that. I want to come to a selectmen's meeting, just be heard so I can be on tape and asking the money that's generated there, how we keep track of it. So there's a system that we use in our union hall. When you pay dues, it registers somewhere, and our international keeps track of it, every penny that comes in. And I think that's a system we should go with down there. That's all. But I'll come to a selectmen's meeting and maybe I'll even talk to you off to the side.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Any more questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. The hour now being 7:15, I would call for a motion to adjourn the annual town meeting until the completion of the special town meeting. Is there a motion? It's been moved. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Carries unanimously. I now call the special town meeting to order and ask the town clerk to please read the return of the warrant.
To either of the constables of West Bridgewater and the County of Plymouth, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of West Bridgewater, qualified to vote in elections and town affairs, to meet at the West Bridgewater Middle Senior High School auditorium in said town on June 12th at 7:15 p.m., and then there to act on the following articles, to wit. Pursuant to the within warrant, I have this day notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of West Bridgewater qualified to vote in elections and town affairs to meet at the time and place within mentioned by posting 15 attest copies within warrant at various locations throughout Precinct 1 and 2, 14 days at least before the aforesaid special town meeting. Bruce L. Holmquist, Constable, Town of West Bridgewater.
Thank you. Article 1, Mr. Anderson.
Sean Anderson, interim highway superintendent. That the town transfers the sum of $256,000 from budget 9100 benefits to provide the snow and ice deficit and the general fund department. 4230 DPW snow and ice.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
It's been recommended unanimously, 6-0.
Thank you. Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the article?
Yep. From what I've come up with this past snow season, the biggest expense of what I can see is the salt. The salt, it varies up and down all the time. It's like $6 to $8 to 12 cents a ton. We've spent about $204,000 on salt, about $3,000 on liquid calcium, and the leftover is about $48,000 with the guys and the outside contractors. So that's where the big expense is the salt.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
That being the only article on the special town meeting, I would call for a motion to dissolve the special town meeting. It's been moved. Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. The special town meeting is dissolved unanimously. Is there a motion to reconvene the annual town meeting? It's been moved. Is there a second? All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. The annual town meeting is back in order, and we are at Article 11. Selectman Kinahan.
Move that the town vote to determine the salaries of the following elected town officers for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2017. Moderator, $333. Tree Warden, $0. Board of Selectmen, $10,375. Board of Assessors, $10,539. Town Clerk, $67,531. Board of Health, $2,577. Board of Water Commissioners, $7,295.
Before I call for the second, Mr. Kinahan, on the moderator, you said 333 or 335. It's 338.
I'm sorry, yes, 338.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Recommended unanimously.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommend unanimously.
Do either the Selectmen or the Finance Committee have any comments? Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. Article 12 is your budget, which is in the FinCom book. Everybody has it. What we will do is what we traditionally do. We will go through the budget. I will read each department or category and the total. If you have any questions or comments you wish to make, if you would just yell out hold. Once we have gone through all of them, we will go back and visit each hold. First, we will have Meredith Anderson read the motion.
That the town vote to appropriate the sum of $32,172,289 for the maintenance and support of the several departments of the town and other usual or necessary town charges as herein specified and requested by the Finance Committee for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2017, for the purposes herein described, and further, that the sum of $29,521,005 be raised and appropriated, and that the sum of $2,651,284 be transferred as follows. From estimated water revenues to the Water Department, budget $4,500, $1,901,284. From emergency medical service receipts to the Fire Department, budget $2,200, $400,000. And from free cash to offset the debt exclusion borrowing costs for the new middle senior high school, $350,000.
Thank you. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. We will now go through each category. Moderator, $1140, $588. Board of Selectmen, $1220, $200,473. Town Administrator, $1290, $137,350. Finance Committee, $1310, $3,100. Finance Committee Reserve, $1320, $67,000. Accountant, $1350, $102,706. Assessors, $1410, $230,866. Treasurer Collector, $1450, $332,385. Town Council, $1510, $87,000. Information Systems, $1550, $91,418. Cable TV Committee, $1560, $1,100. Town Clerk, $1610, $117,500. Elections Registration, $1630, $23,041. Conservation, $1710, $95,762. Open Space Committee, $1715, $950. Agricultural Commission, $1720, $600. Planning Board, $1750, $24,563. Board of Appeals, $1760, $5,571. Rent Control Board, $1850, $3,652. ADA Commission, $1920, $500. Insurances, $1930, $245,773. Town Hall, $1940, $57,450. Municipal Building Needs Committee, $1945, $1,454. Wastewater Treatment Facilities, $1950, $3,600. Stormwater Management Committee, $1955, $0. Economic Development Commission, $1965, $3,700. Police Department, $2,100, $2,539,158. Fire Department, $2,200, $2,143,798. Building Department, $2,410, $145,690. Gas and Plumbing Inspector, $2,420, $14,353. Sealer of Weights and Measures, $2,440, $5,840. Electrical Inspector, $2,450, $14,523. Canine Control, $2,920, $8,250. Forestry and Parks, $2,940, $353,139. Education, $3,000, $12,053,405. Southeastern Regional Voc Tech, $3,200, $578,172. DPW General Administration, $4210, $559,431. Public Works Highway, $4220, $89,830. Public Works Snow Removal, $4230, $91,300. Public Works Street Lighting, $4240, $67,700. Wastewater Disposal, Sanitation, $4330, $294,492. Vehicle Maintenance, $4,600, $93,816. Tree Warden, $4940, $400. Board of Health, $5110, $141,596. Women's Crisis Center, $2,750. Brockton Area Arc, $5270, $250. Old Colony Hospice, $5280, $2,000. Council on Aging, $5410, $278,344. Veterans, $5430, $83,345. Library, $6,100, $438,836. Plymouth County Extension Service, $6,600, $200. Historic Commission, $6910, $1,750. Veterans Memorial Day Committee, $6920, $1,500. Retirement of Debt, $7,100, $1,680,401. Interest on long-term debt, $7510, $1,084,472. Interest on short-term debt, $7520, $50,000. Benefits, $9,100, $5,614,192. Water Department, $4,500, $1,901,284. Grand total, $32,172,289. We will now go back through the holds. If you put a hold on more than one budget, if it's for the same reason, please let us know when we get to it. And as I call each one, whoever from the voters wishes to come forward and speak to it, please do so at the front microphone. Town Administrator, $1,290, was $137,350.
Neil Conley, 376 Walnut Street. I hate doing this, but I'm going to do it. I look at last year, 105,000. I look at this year, and for 17, I'm looking at 18, 130,000, a $25,000 jump. Can somebody explain that from the selectmen? I don't want to hear from the administrator. I want to hear from the selectmen.
So David came to us a few months ago to renegotiate his salary. We did a competitive analysis. The average of the 10 comparable towns is $146,000. We landed on the number 130 after negotiating back and forth a little bit. And the reason that I feel, at least, that we need to pay someone what they're worth is because of what David's done for us and for the town. When David got here about 4 years ago, there was $11,000 in stabilization. Today we have $1.3 million, and after tonight we'll have $2.4 million. So we think that David has more than paid for himself, and we've been very happy with the work that he's done for us, and we have to pay him fairly. We could go out and get someone for $80,000 probably, but it wouldn't benefit the town by saving that $50,000. We'd more than pay for it.
Moderator?
Yes.
Yeah, I was part of that negotiating team, and
You're fired.
are we on here? Okay. And we hire sometimes, and we hire at the lower end of the scale, and David is certainly proved his worth here. One of the things is, too, as you notice at town meeting, in fact, my article is the stabilization, we're putting another $1,109,000 in there, and a lot. And when he came to town here, I told him, I said, what we want to do is get our finances in order. In the last 2 or 3 years, we're not bonding. The only thing we bonded is the new high school. We're paying everything cash, and again tonight we're paying cash. And David has lined all this up, and he's been working. I know it's a big increase, but still he's proved his worthy to us there. And as Anthony said, we checked on other towns, and we didn't just do this arbitrarily. And we see that other towns are paying a lot more. But I have to also look at the capacity. We're a small town here, and we only got so much. But I think it's well deserved, and he certainly has earned it.
Mr. Moderator. Anthony, you said, where do we get the stabilization fund? Can you just, I am not going to draw this out in a big debate. I'll get to my point.
So the stabilization comes from underspending. So if we manage the budgets well, then we'll have surplus at the end of the year. That money moves into stabilization.
And that's generated from tax revenue coming into the town?
Correct.
Now, Eldon, you made a comment that he has it under control now, so in the past it hasn't been. That's a sort of sad comment. But $25,000, I'm not saying you're not worth it. That's a big jump. And you see these other people, departments, Not saying everybody's worth 150,000. I think I'm worth $1 million, but who's going to pay me $1 million? My wife will pay $1 million to have me dead. But I see when you go into negotiations, and if you're on the negotiating committee, that's sort of a tough pill to swallow. Say, keep them down here and I'll take that. Not that you negotiated the selectmen, but 25,000. If you said 10,000 maybe, yes, the next year 10,000. I understand it's a tough job, but he applied for it and he took it, and that is his job. I was here when they created that position. I know how they created it. It started from the state, from Dukakis administration. I was against it then, but after I talked to the selectmen, said it's well worth it because of the way the world's changing. But I just say $25,000, it's a lot of money. It's a jackpot. And that's going right in the pocket, not towards your benefits or anything like that. If you sit on negotiations, my opinion, it's really an offset from what I hear what these people, well, the workers in the town get. They don't get half of that or a quarter of that. So I'm against that, but I'm not going to change it, but I'm going to vote no on that.
Thank you, Ms. Reyes.
I'm questioning how you came up with a 25% increase. Do you have a scale at which you look when you complete a performance evaluation? So is it 5% for good work, 10% for excellent, 25% for over and above? And if that's how you do it, how are you going to do that every year? I mean, the expectation is David will do excellent every year to follow.
So that is built into this was a renegotiation. Built in the contract that we signed with them, there will be those incremental increases based on performance. They're tied to his performance evaluation.
So is that 25%?
That is not. That was renegotiated. Going forward, it will be based on his performance.
So if for excellent performance next year, what's the percentage?
3.5, I believe, is the highest that his increase would be next year.
And what other towns did you evaluate when you came to the salary?
I don't have the list with me. Easton, Plainville, East Bridgewater, I believe Bridgewater.
Any
Avon.
towns our size?
Avon, very comparable.
And Avon was paying a lot more than West Bridgewater?
Specifically, I don't remember if Avon was, but the average of those 10 towns came out to 146. I believe the highest was 170, which I think was Easton, and the lowest was, I believe, slightly under 100.
I don't dispute that David's doing an excellent job, but a 25% increase is just unheard of, and we expect an excellent job.
Moving on to, did you say? Yes.
Okay. So I just want to...
Just please identify yourself.
Oh, I'm Jerry Screnchy, the Vice Chair of the Finance Committee, Captain Carlson Way. Probably like other people on the Finance Committee, we volunteered because we thought, not only do we want to get involved in the town, but we thought we could make an impact. And at first you think, oh, I'm going to help save a lot of money. But the more involved I got in it, the more I saw that it was also incredibly important to give the town employees the tools they need to succeed. And that meant spending money that, voting to spend money that I actually didn't think I would vote to do. And that includes salaries. You have to, when we have replaced certain departments, we have gotten less experienced people and paid less. When we've replaced in other departments, we've gotten more experienced people and paid more. I also want to point out that there are several other department heads in town who make more than the town administrator, which is almost ironic because he's responsible for the entire budget. And you have these department heads who are only responsible for their department. And I'm not going to name those departments because really, I have a list, but it's not really necessary. I do want to point out that the highway department, we lost building. We lost a pretty good building inspector several years ago. He moved on. He got a much bigger salary increase by moving on to a town that would pay him his fair market value rather than stay in West Bridgewater where he was grossly underpaid. To replace him, we probably spent about 20% to 30% more just to find a replacement. This building inspector who moved on, he then moved on and took yet another job, practically 50% increased his salary just by getting the heck out of West Bridgewater. So we don't want to make that mistake again. You want somebody good, then you're going to pay the going rate. If you work in private industry, you know that if you're going to hire an experienced person, you are going to pay for that person. If you want to hire an inexperienced person, then you'll pay an inexperienced wage. I was very much in favor of this because David has proven himself to be a top shelf town administrator who could walk out of West Bridgewater tomorrow and get probably a 30% to 40% increase by going someplace else. And then we'll be back at square one. So I'm going to urge you to look at it as a business decision. Get what you pay for. If you're going to recruit, you need to know what you're recruiting for and you need to pay them. And that even if that means hiring within and making the salary match what the person brings to the table compared to what's around you, then you have to bite that bullet. And that's what we've all learned to do, and that's why we supported it.
Mrs. Anderson.
Mary Anderson, Chairman of the Finance Committee. I'm at 118 South Elm Street. This is not typically something that I would vote for, especially seeing the percentage of the increase. But if you take all the emotion out of it, look at it black and white, if our town administrator left today, regardless of how you feel about him, her, whomever, if they left today, they could walk into another job earning much more than what we're giving them today. And so just for that reason alone, I voted yes.
Thank you. Moving on to the next hold, which is on page 3 of the budget, assesses 1410. That dollar figure was $230,866. The person who put the hold on it want to speak?
Town Council, I apologize. Neil Conley, 376 Walnut Street. I'm just not micromanaging your budget, but you're going from 78 to 90, then 85.
No.
Am I in the right?
We're on the wrong one.
Which one?
We're on assesses 1410,
All right, that wasn't
page 3.
All right.
Denise Reyes, 48 Columbus Avenue. Could you tell me why line 5111, appointed official, doubled almost?
Mr. McCarthy, would you like to speak to that?
Steve McCarthy, Chair, Board of Assessors. In answer to the question directly, the board at this time would like to make the principal assessor, John Donahue, he's currently at a part-time status. So the increase in dollars from his current salary of $38,500 up to $70,000 constitutes from a part-time to a full-time position. And if I need to get into why we're doing that, I can. There's a whole host of reasons, and I'd like to, if I could, just mention a couple of them. It's really, when you talk about these things, you try to make it about the position. In our case, I'm trying to make it about the position, but it really parallels what the town administrator, what the question and answer you just went through with Dave. Currently in our office, John Donahue is the part-time principal assessor, and it's the only we're the only community in Plymouth County that has just a part-time principal assessor. All the others have a full-time principal assessor and also maybe some appraisal staff. Some towns do, some towns don't. The board saw the need for this job to go full-time. It's apparent that we talk about when we set the tax rate, the classification hearing, the town of West Bridgewater, we have 3,300 taxable parcels, including real and personal. That's not a real lot. But because of really good infrastructure, Route 24 proximity, the market and such, our little town here has reached almost $1.1 billion in total value. And there's a lot to be said about that number. And because of that, we create the tax levy, they call it, when people get their bills, the tax bills. The tax levy creates over $23 million in tax dollars. And that's substantial for this town. Over the last 3 years, because of the things I just mentioned, the increase in value has averaged $27 million, or about $500,000 in tax dollars through a new growth. Because the town, I think, is very viable, we have that tax incentive finance, we're going with solar pilot programs, all kinds of incentives. There's now more than ever a need for that full-time position. I can honestly say that, I mentioned a few times before that my full-time profession is a commercial fee appraiser, so I get to visit all kinds of offices and talk to different people and such, and they all, the common denominator is that they have a full-time person. Bringing that full-time, bringing John up to full-time, we would definitely improve the quality of our vendor. We have Patriot Company do that, and yes, they come in and do a pretty good job. They're certified by the Department of Revenue. In my opinion, they could do a better job. And on certain different classes of properties and such, they do their job, they send out bills, and based on our response from taxpayers, I guess it's pretty good. I want to see a better job by them, by overseeing data analysis, quality control and such. That's something that a full-time guy could do. And over the course of so many years, I know that the increase in tax revenues with the growth would certainly pay for the position. John is responsible to oversee the geographic information systems for the town, the GIS mapping system. I'm not sure the exact hours involved in that, but that's a responsibility he has taken on since the person before him had retired. The full-time job, but no doubt, because I do this in other communities myself, is I'm an expert witness in other communities, and we could bring some of that work. And John's a certified commercial appraiser, and he's an expert. He's qualified as an expert at the Appellate Tax Board. On some cases, I'm not saying all of them, we could do an inside appraisal. I've done it for the town. John could do that, and on expert cost over so many years, but certainly we would reap the benefit there. Right now, we have a couple of cases going forward that John could definitely handle one if we had the hours. There's a lot involved there. So by him, paying more attention to the sales out there and all this other good stuff, we would do a lot better with tax reps. We'd be able to bring some of the appraisal work in-house, better quality in the office, building permits, and all the stuff I mentioned. The position surely should be looked at. The salary of $70,000, we took a look at nearby communities and pretty much Plymouth County. By far, it's the cheapest one, the cheapest salary to start with. I wanted to get us foot in the door and basically see where we're going with that. Easton's over $100,000. The Bridgewater's are over 80. Brockton doesn't count because it's 3 full-time guys. But just look in this little sector here, it'd be the cheapest by far, and that's the way I want it to start, or the board wanted to start it. Just start with a full-time job, see where that's going. I know how it's going to go, but I didn't want to come in front of the town meeting and ask for a $45,000 increase. I don't think that was warranted. But like the town manager, there is an increase or a full-time status that is warranted there.
Thank you. Ms. Reyes?
So it sounds, just so I understand it right, $70,000 to start. We'll probably be looking at a lot more in future years, and it doesn't also calculate what the benefits package is going to cost us. And yet, I didn't necessarily hear a need that we need a full-time assessor. There's benefits, but I still didn't hear the need. But the other question I had is with regard to contract negotiations. Will this be a full-time in the office job, or will it still have work from home hours?
That's a good question. I would say the majority of it would be in the office, but myself, I'm an elected board member here, and off the record, I do a lot of work at home. It's sitting involved in front of a computer, looking at sales and deeds. But the majority of that would be done in the office, but I can't say unequivocally to be 100% in the office because the job calls for looking at the car wash up on the town of Natick, so you have to leave the town, or doing work, stuff like that. So depending on what the particular circumstance is, most of the time it would be done in the office, but I can't say for sure that it all would be. And I thought I kind of clearly outlined the need for the full-time position.
Thank you. Yes.
Maurice McCarthy, 23 Captain Carlson Way. What really got my attention when we discussed this last year a little bit and again this year, and what has convinced me is the number of national corporations we have in town, and this was mentioned last year. They automatically apply for a rebate every year. They have armies of lawyers that just do that as a way of business every year. We're not staffed enough to go and argue those in court most of the time. So we're losing. My understanding is that now we'll be able to address these issues a little more thoroughly, and maybe these large corporations won't be, they'll always apply for the rebates, but maybe we'll win a few. And I think that easily justifies what we're asking for, so thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We'll move on to the next hold, which is on the next page, Town Council, $87,000.
Mr. Chairman, Neil Conley, can I just make one comment outside of the question?
No.
I don't attack the Finance Committee. I don't attack anybody that volunteers their time. You do a great job. I always
stick
reflect.
with the Town Council.
People should get something for your work. But the Town Council, first of all, if I'm in order, Mr. Chairman, do we have any litigation against the town being sued? Are you representing us in any lawsuits?
There are 3 pending cases at this time.
Can you tell us what they are, please?
One involves a police officer that was terminated, which has been upheld on a couple of occasions already, but they're still filing appeals. So we're in the appeals court on the 3rd. They have not won at any level, but they're still appealing. Another involves wages and benefits due to a former employee, which has not yet gone to trial. And the 3rd is a rather recent case that was brought by a former police officer that is not being defended by my office, but by the insurance company.
And so you're not on the hook for that last one you just said?
I monitor it. I monitor everything that's outside, but the insurance company makes the decision who they hire on those kinds of cases, and we had insurance to cover that case.
Have you settled any cases this year out of litigation?
No. We've had very little litigation.
And everybody likes to sue. That's the way we live today.
That's true.
And when you did that up at the industrial park for the solar panels, did the town pay you $10,000, or were you paid through the ones who were going to put the solar panels up?
Yeah, so when we did the pilot agreement in December, that was the company that put the rooftop solar panels. Yeah. So they had to reimburse us for our legal fees. So our legal fees actually totaled about $4,600 for the year. But not knowing what it was going to be, I negotiated into the contract that they were required to pay us $10,000, and they did pay us.
All righty, thank you.
Moving on to the next hold, which is on page 10. Building Inspector, 2410, $145,690.
You know who I am by now, right? This is another question regarding salary. This was another over 10% increase on line 5111. Someone speak to that.
So this is what Jerry was referring to a little while ago when we were talking about David's salary. So the building inspector left around this time last year. we couldn't find anyone at the at his current salary, and we had to increase that salary in order to find the current building inspector.
So the building inspector that left us for more money because we weren't paying him enough left at 67,000, and now we want to pay 83,000.
He was at 71, but yeah, that's just about right.
So just out of curiosity, since he left us for more money, did we ever offer him more money? If he was so good, I'm not saying the current building inspector is not good, but we just heard we had an excellent building inspector that left us for more money. What's the story?
Mr. Moderator, well, he never approached us. In fact, the last conversation I had with him, I said, listen, I said, I know, and I could see that these other communities were paying more. But he never came back to the board. He left for another town, and his salary was increased considerable. And now he went to another town. Now he's making 90. The last time we went out to try to get it, there was nothing out there that came in. And so we were at the end of the road on this. We were thinking of going out again, but he did not tell us that he was leaving, because that was one of the issues. Because that's one of the things that I have to. I work in my own business there, and I can't match my salary what I make, because nobody will be getting anything, believe me. But this is the way of life today, okay? If you want good people, you're going to have to pay them.
And that's my point.
Yeah, that's the thing. And we're not giving them absorbent, but that's what it is out there today. And you know, we don't like to pay some of the prices. We buy these things, but we have to buy them. That's the price. And this is an unfortunate thing here, but this is very, very touchy when it comes to salaries, because I do not want to make those, 25% and things like that, because that's incredible, and I know how the people feel, because the people out there are not making that kind of money to support it, and I think you and I have always had that. And one of the things you say about that, we're paying our people much too much, but if you're going to keep good people, you're going to have to pay them.
Well, it's just that these percentage increases are 5 times way more, and sometimes 10 times more than what the public sector is getting. And that's for excellent work, perfect attendance, above and beyond on a consistent basis, and longevity.
Yeah, and I think the board has heard you and with the people, and when we go back, like next year, we're going to be very, very, very cautious when we get to that, because we get back with the, with the system there, because, like I said, we go out to advertise, and then we find out there's nothing out there for that kind of money, and that puts us in a thing, because we have to cover the position.
Thank you. The next hold is on page 13, education, $12,053,405.
Real quickly, Neil Conley, 376 Walnut Street. I was watching the cable station when you people would the finance committee was doing the budget. I want to thank you for speaking up, and the gentleman for defending her. But when people ask questions, they should have answers, not sarcastic answers. Why you're going way back to 15, 14, and the budget's going up so high. But thank you for doing your job. And grants. Do we get any grants to these schools from the schools? I know we're supposed to be talking on the budget, Mr. Chairman, but if we get a grant, how much was it, and where does that money go? And another point I want to make. I talked to one of the school committee members. He didn't hear about it, but election day, somebody come out of Spring Street after she voted, and she tripped and fell. That was a special election. Then the town
That's
election.
not in the scope of the question, Mr. Conley.
This will come to the point. And we come to the special election for the, not the election, for the meeting for the golf course, and it was all fixed. The point I'm saying, is there any budget? Is there any money in this budget that wants for fixing up the school property? Not like putting in new windows, like if you see a trip hazard that might have to take repair and tar, a pothole or something like that. Is any of that in this budget?
Well,
last
Mrs.
Warren,
Smith.
that could have been you.
Molly Smith, 48 Roosevelt Ave, Chair for the West Bridgewater School Committee. So I'll answer the first question about grants. So we do apply for grants each year. This year we have a grant for technology that pays for the Chromebooks, and there's a couple other grants too, but usually the grants are specific for something, and then the money is put towards that.
Excuse me, I apologize. I know you applied for grants, but did we get any grant money this year or last year for the school? I think I was watching the school committee. If I remember right, $300,000 or $500,000. Am I off base by saying that? No, I thought it was, whatever it was, I thought it was grant money they got to the school. And that was our third question on the school choice. I know we talked about the school choice, and when we did go to school choice, if I remember correctly, we had a low enrollment in the school, but the selling point to the town was you were going to get $5,000 or $10,000 per student that come from another town to our school. And how is that working out, if I'm still in order, Mr. Chairman?
So in regards to the school choice money, so we are still receiving school choice money, and that money is to go towards enhancing the educational experience. And it's originally was intended to just go towards enhancements, but we've used that money over the years to continue to enhance our budget so that we can provide an excellent educational experience for our students. So we've actually used it for some things that another town may use a regular operating budget, but if you've noticed over the difficult times in our fiscal years, West Bridgewater hasn't cut anything. We've always had all of the same services that we've had for years and years, and so that's what school choice has provided for us, which has been something that from our standpoint has worked out great. I think the town would agree. This past budget, it was just over $1 million that was contributed to offset the budget that we were asking for from the town to pay for our operating expenses.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Deborah Lancaster. I live at 73 Ash Street. I would just like to make a comment in terms of educational services and how it's so important for a town. And in comparison to other communities in the greater Boston area, West Bridgewater teachers are some of the lowest paid teachers. I have a son who is a teacher with 15 years experience. He teaches in Boston. He makes $105,000 a year. 2 years ago, he applied for a position in West Bridgewater, and he would have had to take a $60,000 cut in pay. He's married and has 2 children. The $12 million budget you have here is a bargain for the educational services that we provide. I don't know much about the educational services here. I didn't move here until 15 years ago, and my children were already out of college. But I know that the reputation is good. And as has been said over the course of the last hour, you have to pay to get good people. I'm a retired human resources director, so I know about classification, I know about salary. Southeastern Massachusetts pays 30 to 40% less than you can make in the greater Boston area. And that's why many organizations, employers, governmental entities can't keep good help. So it's something to think about.
Thank you. The next hold on the same page is Southeastern Regional Vocational Technical, $3,200, $578,172.
Mr. Chairman, Neil
Yes.
Conley, is anybody here from Southeastern, the superintendent? I'm not. Yeah, the school committee, right? Well, there's no offense to her, but the superintendent from schools used to come so we can ask questions about this budget. It's gone down 215, now it's going back up 218, 578,000. What's that, almost a $250,000 jump? I know there's a formula. We had this you know anybody, the arguments Ricky Freitas used to put on the floor, there was going to be a revolution, and nobody seems to care. They do care, but is there anything that we can do to stop this? How many kids do we have from West Bridgewater going to that school? And at the time, we were paying top dollar. We only had a handful of kids. Brockton was paying nothing. They had 20 kids, 10 times, 30 times the kids going. I'm not picking on Brockton because it's a coalition of towns. Is anybody even saying what's going on here? Because I remember when Christine Canavan, they threw it in her lap to go do something at the State House. But now you say it's based on, whatever it is, a formula they use now. But I don't know, do we know how many kids are going to that school from West Bridgewater? I mean, it's a very good school, there's no doubt about it, but for this kind of money, they should go to Harvard.
We have the information that was provided to us when they came in to talk to us about it. So I can tell you for FY18, they're expecting enrollment to be at 51 from West Bridgewater, which is an increase of 6 students from the prior year. That's an increase to the enrollment of 3.4%, a 13% change. The overall increase to the budget is at 3.3%. I can try to answer questions.
You got the facts. No, you got the facts. That's what it's about. But I'm just saying in the past, but it's creeping up there. Next year will be over 600, 700, and I just remember the arguments we used to have, and they weren't 5 or 10 minute arguments. They were like a half hour plus.
Yeah, no, they're still at the minimum budget.
And if that's the way it is, and I remember they putting it all the weight on Christine Cannon, our state rep at the time, to do something about it. I don't know if she did something. Now it's all changed again, but we should keep an eye on it.
Thank you. The next, and I believe last hold, is on page 21. Water Department, $4,500, $1,901,284.
Mr. Moderator, is Rick Kruger in the building?
Yes, he is.
The water budget. This is we pay this through our taxes, and when we pay our water bill, that don't go to the town. That goes to the water department. Am I right by saying that? So we don't have a check and balance on that unless you call the water department and ask them. Am I right by saying that?
Mr. Kruger?
Don't drag this out. You're not running for office, you're in there. I'm asking, the water, this is your budget, and when we had they had a water department meeting after one of the selectmen's meeting, or whatever it was, and you were saying it's all in disarray, the money. Now the water, what revenue that you're covering, taking in, how is it going down there for whatever's going on? You said it was all in disarray and you're going to fix it overnight. What's going on?
Okay, well, we dropped the water rate from the basic charge from $249 and change to $160. That gives everybody about a $90 decrease in their water bill. And rather than doing it on the excess, it gives everybody the same amount of a decrease. It also allows the elderly to get away with a $160 bill instead of $250 if they can live under that 3,000 cubic feet. A lot of the elderly who live alone, they do make it under the 3,000. So it's going to give them quite a bit of a break below on the fixed income. And that's what our goal was to bring that down. One of the things in the town meeting, you're going to see we've got 3 articles, and those articles right now are going to be mostly just for 2 of the articles are to pay off short-term debt. We're trying to get rid of some of our debt. So we have used a lot of money for that. We also have had a lot of building in the last few years, a lot of money that should have gone into building new wells, and we have the land, we have already found the spot for the wells. The money was collected to build the wells, but it was spent on other things. So right now we have an article in there to drop a couple submersible pumps into the station number 1, get that one up and running a little bit better than what it is now. It's not putting out very much water. And built into our budget, we've got a line item in there now to start the engineering to develop another route. So in the next, probably in the next year, we should have another surplus falling out. The Department of Revenue will validate it by September or so, and if we get that extra money, then we can start actually doing some drilling and stuff like that. But we got 60,000, I think it's $60,000 in there to start the engineering.
Do we sell our water to pool companies? And how much revenue do we generate from that? Am I in order by asking that, Mr. Chairman?
You can ask.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much we're collecting now. I know we do still sell some for bottled water, and we still sell it, still pool, but that business has dropped off quite a bit, and Brockton started supplying more water. They have more water than the water man. They get it on time. We used to fill all the pools in Brockton. I think we were making about $125,000 profit every year, but that's dropped off considerably. But we still do sell it.
No. That is the end of our polls. We will now vote on Article 12. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Those opposed, no. It is adopted unanimously. Article 13. Mr. McCarthy.
Steve McCarthy, Chair, Board of Assessors. Move that the town accept the provisions of Section 4 of Chapter 73 of the Acts of 1986, and to further accept the provisions of Chapter 126 of the Acts of 1988, which will grant a percentage increase to the real estate tax exemptions to persons who are otherwise qualified for such exemptions, and to further increase the real estate tax exemptions to persons so qualified by 25% for fiscal year 2018.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Recommended unanimously by the 6 members.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes. This article, it allows the Department of Revenue has a statutory amount for the exemptions mentioned on the article here, and every city and town has a chance to locally adopt an increase in such exemptions. For the elderly, the FY17 amount is $500. When the article passes, it'll go up 25% to $625. The widows and over 70 from $175 to $218.75. The veterans from $400 to $500, and the blind from $500 to $625. So it allows the statutory amounts from the Department of Revenue to increase by 25% on those exemptions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Article 14, Mr. Anderson.
John Anderson, interim highway superintendent. That the town borrow $319,219 to be repaid in not more than 1 year in anticipation of reimbursement to meet the town's share of the cost of work for the state aid construction and the maintenance, and authorize as the town's apportionment of Chapter 90 local transportation and funding for fiscal year 2018 in accordance with the figures released by the Massachusetts Department of Transportation in accordance with Chapter 86 of the Acts of 2008.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
I abstain because Sean's my husband, so Jerry gets to take over.
Thank you.
It was recommended unanimously by the Finance Committee, 5-0 with 1 abstention.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yep. Every year we get the Chapter 90 money. It's about $320,000. this Chapter 90 money goes by how many miles in town that are accepted, and by the population, and of how many people are employed in town. That's how they come up with the allotment. And also the Chapter 90 money that they give us, it's from here. I like to have everything go towards the roads of the town and all that. So that's what that is.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Before we vote, just so nobody thinks we're making a mistake, it is a borrowing article, which normally they require a 2/3 vote. However, this money is paid back within less than a year, so only a majority vote is necessary. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, no. Carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Article 15, Mr. Kinahan.
Move that the monies previously repaid through the loan program by the property owners be transferred and appropriated for the purpose of financing additional water pollution abatement facility projects concerning the repair, replacement, and/or upgrade of septic systems pursuant to agreements with the Board of Health and residential property owners, including without limitation all costs thereof as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C of the General Laws. That to meet this appropriation, the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to reissue those funds for additional water pollution abatement facility projects that are in excess of amounts due to be repaid to the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust. That the project and financing costs shall be repaid by the property owners in accordance with the agreements authorized under those statutes and at 2% interest per annum, of which the proceeds from such interest, as well as any amounts received from the homeowner for the repayment of such loans, shall be credited to the Reserve for Appropriation WPAT Loan Repayment Account, and shall, with approval of town meeting, be used to fund the repayment of any loans granted by the Water Pollution Abatement Trust under this authorization.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended unanimously by the Finance Committee.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you care to speak to the motion?
This is just the program for septic system loans for residents.
Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Was that a no? Okay. That is passed unanimously. Article 16, Ms. Cambria.
Hi, Cheryl Cambria, 1 Wallace Way, Community Preservation Committee. Move that the town appropriate from the Community Preservation Fund estimated revenues the following amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses, debt services, community preservation projects, open space, historic resources, and community housing reserves, and other expenses in fiscal year 2018, with each item to be a separate appropriation or reserve. Appropriations from FY 2017 estimated revenues for committee administrative expenses, $10,622. Reserves from FY 2017 estimated revenues for historic resources reserve, 0. From FY 2017 estimated revenues for community housing reserve, $24,245. From FY 2017 estimated revenues for open space reserve, 0. From FY 2017 estimated revenues for undesignated funds, $8,234.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Was recommended unanimously by the 6 members present.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
This is the yearly accounting of the money that comes in from taxes and the money that's allotted from the Community Preservation Fund. The money gets put into, we call them buckets, but it's 10% has to go to specific, like the housing, the community housing, open space, and historic resources. You have to at least put 10% of the money into those sections for accounting reasons. We can have up to 5% of the money go into an administrative expense, and the remaining amount goes into an undesignated fund.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Mr. Conley?
Yeah, the preservation fund, how much is in that fund if I'm in order? Because I know we voted on charge 1% for meal tax, and are we still collecting that every year? And that's, through the chair, Mr. Chairman, are we, that's just on the meal, not the beverage, correct? 1%, or is it the total bill of your restaurant bill?
Is there a link to
Yes.
the
Yeah, because
Community Preservation Act with that?
Well, this is where the money was supposed to go. No?
No.
Well, I could have swore we voted one on the tax to go on the Preservation Act.
Meals tax, there's a 0.75 of 1%.
Right.
That goes to the town. What was that?
Does that go to the
school?
Preservation Fund, correct?
No.
No?
The Community Preservation Fund is 1% of your real estate tax bills. It's something the town voted a few years ago, where 1% of your real estate tax bill should be listed separately, and it goes into the Community Preservation Fund, or Act, whatever it is.
He just says the town administrator. Am I off by what I was asking on the meal tax?
Mr. Moderator, go ahead, Dave.
Well, he's asking the administrator a
whoever has
question.
the answer.
Yeah, the meals tax is separate from the CPC, of the Community Preservation Trust Fund.
I apologize.
Okay.
Another thing, with that meals tax, that goes directly to the high school, as far as to offset the high school. That's when the board voted that, that's where that money goes, for the meals tax.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Article 17, Ms. Cambria.
Move that the town transfer and appropriate from the open space portion of the FY 2017 Community Preservation Fund estimated revenue a sum not to exceed $21,245, and from the FY 2017 undesignated portion of the Community Preservation Fund a sum not to exceed $88,755, for a total sum not to exceed $110,000 to be expended by the Forestry Superintendent for the restoration and preservation of historic town-owned cemeteries.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended by a majority of the Finance Committee, 5-1.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
There is an FYI, there's a Scrivener's error on the warrant. The article should have said that the funding source was from open space and not historical. The motion, as I have just read it, has been updated to reflect the change.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Article 18, Ms. Cambria.
Move that the town transfer from the FY 2017 undesignated portion of the Community Preservation Fund a sum not to exceed $13,100 to be expended by the Forestry Superintendent for repairs and/or additions at Friendship Park.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended by a majority of the Finance Committee, 5-1.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
This is one of the CPA projects that was approved by the committee, and it involves additions and repairs to Friendship Park.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Articles 19 and 20, I refer to Town Council.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. In reviewing the warrant articles, we found that there were some legal procedural steps that should have been taken before these articles could be voted. So we were asked to pass the articles, I mean, not take any votes, don't make any motions, and they can be reviewed further and brought up at some later date, a special or annual town meeting.
Thank you. Article 21, Ms. Cambria.
Move that the town transfer and appropriate from the FY 2017 undesignated portion of the Community Preservation Fund the sum not to exceed $15,000 to be expended by the town clerk for the preservation of historic vital records.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Recommended unanimously by the Finance Committee, 6-0.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the article?
This is another CPA project that this has been ongoing since, I believe, 2010. The town clerk has been preserving all of the vital records, and it's just a continuation.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. Article 22, Ms. Cambria.
Move that the town transfer and appropriate from the FY 2017 undesignated portion of the Community Preservation Fund a sum not to exceed $10,000 to be expended by the Board of Assessors for the preservation of the assessor valuation books.
Thank you. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Recommended unanimously, 6-0.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
This is another CPA project that I believe it was last year the assessors started preserving their valuation books, and this year they're just continuing through the years.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. Yes. No, because they have legal issues, unless town council wants to. Yeah.
There are some, to determine historic artifact, you need certain votes to have occurred, and the question is, did these votes occur over the past few months or a few weeks, and they haven't. So even if the articles were motioned and passed, they couldn't be effective. So we have to have those votes before you can act on these.
What votes did not happen?
The designation by the Historic District Commission that this is in fact an historic artifact.
So the Historic Committee hasn't had it brought before them, or they, I'm confused.
I believe they took a vote not to designate it as an historic artifact. Some questions have been raised as to whether or not sufficient facts were presented. If they voted to not to do it, then you can't you can't vote on this article. So it can't be voted.
Well, I understand. I'm just asking why.
Yeah, that's why. Can't be done.
All right, just so that I understand. So we're saying that the items that we have from 9/11 are not considered historical?
I'm not saying that personally, but I'm saying that so far that's the vote has been made that would not designate them, so at this point you couldn't act on it.
Okay, so the Historic Commission, just so I understand, so the Historic Commission has decided that those artifacts are not considered historical?
That's why I wasn't there, but that's what I understand, yes. But I understand there's still some discussion that may bring that back to them at some point. But until they vote the other way, you can't act on the article.
Oh, no, I understand. I'm just trying to understand what's preventing it to this point. Can anybody else elaborate on that board not deciding that?
Give me 1 minute with town council.
Okay.
Town moderator asked me to give a little more detailed explanation, and again, I was not present, but from what I have been told, the artifacts that are subject to this proposal came to the town of West Bridgewater because at the time of 9/11, the West Bridgewater Fire Department, and I don't know, maybe even the police department, but at least the fire department, sent volunteers to New York to work on the World Trade Center, and I don't know if they went any other place, but at least to that area. In order for the town to have received these artifacts, they had to be considered historic. Now, I don't know how much of that was actually presented to the Historic District Commission before the vote, so I think my understanding, again, I haven't spoken with the fire chiefs, but I've been told that they would like to go back and present more evidence to explain how these artifacts actually got here and why they should be considered historic as to the town, because the town did submit people to assist at 9/11.
Okay, so when the Historic Commission made this vote, was anyone from the fire department or this committee there, do you know? That was able to give a presentation at that time?
I don't know, but I don't believe anybody was there.
Mrs. Anatelli, would you take the chair for a moment? I have given Mrs. Anatelli the chair and stepped aside since I'm chairman of the Historic Commission. It came to us 2 weeks ago to declare them historic artifacts of the town of West Bridgewater, and we had a meeting scheduled this past week at which we voted. We did not have anyone there. All we had was a request to vote them as historic artifacts. It was a vote of 6 against, 1 abstention, which was myself, because being the moderator and presiding on the article, and also I have a family member on the police force, and we followed the rules which say that it has to be a historic artifact to the town of West Bridgewater. If we were presented information that said it was historic to the town, the vote may have been different, I don't know. But we would certainly be willing to reconsider.
Okay, just my own opinion, I guess, then, because anything from 9/11 I would think is historic to every town in this country. I mean, that day was, we all realized we're not safe. And I'm pretty sure I could ask anybody in this room and they can tell me where they were that day when they heard the news. So how those items could not be considered historic, I don't understand. That makes no sense to me. But I understand you didn't feel you had enough documentation to support it. It's just unfortunate that maybe you didn't call someone from the police department or whoever's on that committee to come in there because you had concerns to get this pushed through. But now my next question is, did the selectmen vote on this as well? It did? And how did the selectmen vote on this?
The selectmen voted 2-1. I was the one. 2-1 in favor. I was opposed.
May I ask why you were opposed?
Reasons that Jim said. I didn't understand how it was historically significant to West Bridgewater. I understand your argument. I actually, before just now, I had no idea that West Bridgewater firefighters actually went to the World Trade Center. Maybe that would have swayed me a little bit. But I just didn't see the historical significance to this town. I appreciated everything that the fire department put into planning that, and also partly because the $60,000 I found to be a substantial amount of money for such a small area.
A lot of that, though, is my understanding, is going to come from donations, and police and fire are putting in their own money from their stuff.
So as the article reads, it's $60,000 that the town would expend. I've not heard of any grant money or other funding for it. The article is for $60,000 that the town would spend.
I'd have to reread it, but I believe it was supposed to be up to 60. But even still, how anybody can say that those items are not historic to this town, I don't understand. I'm sorry, because I don't think there's anybody in this room that was not touched in one way or another by that day.
We do agree with that, Paula, but we have to keep with the scope of the question, and at this point, I think they've answered your questions. Do you have any others that you'd like to ask?
No, I'd like
Go
to
ahead.
speak on that too. I voted for it because I think I'm with you. So this is, we're in this country, and that's a national thing, and that thing should be moved along. I know Anthony was kind of concerned a little bit about the price, so here we go again, of the $60,000. He thought there was a lot for what we were going to get, but here we go again. I mean, it's the price is what it is, and we have to pay. I think that belongs out there, and I think this has been going back and forth for quite a while now. The firemen and the policemen have done their things, and I think that thing, we got to move that thing as fast as we can, even if we have to have a special town meeting to do it, even if it has to cost the town to come back here. But that should be done over there as soon as possible.
Can I just ask one more thing?
Yep.
The community preservation, did they all vote in favor of this?
Cheryl, can you answer that?
Everybody voted, I'm sorry? Okay, it was unanimous. All right, thank you. All right, thank you.
Article 23, Mr. Duggan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Move that the town raise and appropriate a sum of $100,000 to fund other post-employment benefits, OPEB, liability trust fund established in accordance with Chapter 32B, Section 20 of the Massachusetts General Laws.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Recommended unanimously, 6-0.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to it, Mr. Duggan?
Sure, thank you. This is, I think it's the 5th year we have started partial funding of the outstanding liability for health insurance costs of retirees and future retirees. So it's just put money aside to help pay for costs when probably when the retirement assessment is paid off in 2031. But it's still, at least it's responsible of the town to put money aside, and the Moody's and Standard & Poor's, the rating agencies for the town, look very favorable on our town in particular, that we're actually making an effort to fund this liability.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Article 24, Chief Flaherty.
Move that the town raise and appropriate a sum of $10,000 as a town match for the Web Task Force grant FY 2018.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Recommended unanimously by the 6 members present.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to it, Chief?
Just so everybody knows, this is something we've been doing with Bridgewater and East Bridgewater since 1996 and 7. Today we've added Whitman. So basically we're pooling our resources so that we can have a number of different individuals come at any certain time for drug investigation or major crime. So basically we're sharing resources, and this is just our money to do that.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. Article 25, Mr. Cabral.
Art Cabral, 77 Walnut Street, Chairman of Municipal Building Needs Committee. Move that the town transfer from free cash a sum of $95,000 to be expended by the Board of Selectmen to replace the roof at Town Hall.
Is there a second? Finance Committee.
Recommended unanimously.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
Basically, those who were here last year will remember we had appropriated a small amount of money to work on the town hall roof. We determined fairly quickly it was not enough by a significant amount. We had an architect look at it, and we have an actual cost estimate. This will enable us to go through and actually award a contract and get the roof fixed.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Article 26, Ms. Smith.
Move that the town transfer from free cash a sum of $330,000 to pay off and close out Article 1 of the special town meeting of February 25th, 2016 for the replacement of the Spring Street School roof.
Thank you. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended unanimously.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the article?
Yes, please. The town is seeking authorization to use free cash to pay off the bond authorized in February to replace the Spring Street School roof.
Any questions or comments from the voters? Mr. Conley?
Is that the roof we just approved in 2016? Now, did we put all the money up front to have it done? I'm lost on this article, because I thought I forget how much we borrowed, but I think it was a borrowed item. And it was to do the whole roof over. It was a rubber roof, I guess, whatever you put on it. And what's this article mean? We need more money, or?
Mr. Duggan?
Actually, the project came in way under the amount that we had appropriated a couple of years ago. Plus, we received 50% reimbursement for the MSBA. So the 330, I think, I don't have my glasses, will pay off the project way ahead of time. But the project came in, we estimate, I think it was over $1 million. I think Sarah said it came in, Dr. Oakley's here, around 800,000. But we were on the hook for 50% and the state caught that 50.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Article 27, Ms. Smith.
Move that the town transfer from free cash a sum of $117,000 to be expended by the school committee to pave the parking lots at Howard School and Spring Street School.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended by a majority of the Finance Committee.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, please. So this is to actually repave the Howard School, the road behind the school, and to repave the Spring Street School parking lot.
Any questions or comments from the voters? Do you have a question, Mr. Turner? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Article 28, Ms. Smith.
Move that the town transfer from free cash a sum of $100,000 to be expended by the school committee to purchase new elementary furniture.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended by a majority of the Finance Committee, 5-1.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, please. This is, we're asking to authorize the purchase of new furniture for the elementary schools. The furniture that we currently have at the elementary schools is about 20 to 30 years old.
Any questions or comments from the voters? All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. Article 29, Ms. Smith.
Move that the town transfer from free cash a sum of $50,000 to be expended by the school committee to purchase digital library resources.
Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended by a majority of the Finance Committee, 4-2.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
The school committee is seeking this authorization to expand and update the digital library resources. Doing so would ensure accreditation by New England Association of Schools and Colleges And this is basically just to update all of our digital resources.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Article 30, Mr. Anatelli.
Chris Yanatelli, 268 South Elm Street. Move that the town transfer from free cash a sum of $7,200 to be expended by the forestry superintendent to purchase a new dump body for a 2005 F-450.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Recommended unanimously.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
This is to replace a dump body on a 2005 F-450 that has rotted out.
Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. All those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Article 31, Mr. Anderson.
It's moved that the town vote to transfer the free cash of sum of $8,500 to be expended by the highway superintendent to purchase a new dump body for a 2006 F-450.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Sorry, we're still married, Jerry.
Right?
I'm not married. No, he's yours, or he's mine.
It's recommended unanimously by the Finance Committee, 6-0.
Thank you. Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion? Okay. Nope. Thank you.
Yeah, just to let you know, we've had this truck since day one, brand new. It's got 145,000 miles on it. And also to let you know that it also includes a new hoist underneath it, along with Mr. Anatelli's truck too.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. Article 32. Mr. Anderson.
To move that the town transfers from free cash a sum of $388,000 to be expended by the highway superintendent to purchase two new Freightliners, 64,000 pound 10-wheeler dump trucks.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Finance Committee voted 5-0 with 1 abstention.
Your Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yep. These two trucks are going to be replacing two trucks. One's a 93 F800, the other one's a 98 F800. We've had them since day one. They've come to the point now you have to draw a line of how much money you're going to put into them. The frames on these are rusted. It's actually starting to scale, so which is a safety concern. Every time a section of frame starts scaling, it's a weak point. So along with the floors in the truck, the cab, and all that, and the drivetrain, it's pretty well worn out on both of them. Also, it's a lot of money, but it takes a little time, and you have to spec these trucks out from here on, as Mr. Lucini knows, that these trucks are heavier trucks. I plan on, with these trucks, they're going to come with a new plow, a new wet system, which is a calcium chloride system with a central hydraulic system with a new sander. It's going to be fully equipped with that, along with an automatic from here on. These trucks I plan on putting on for the Chapter 90 reclamation of the roads in town at $125 an hour for trucks that come in to do the services. I figured that if we put two trucks on, we're going to save a lot of money. They usually work 8 to 10 hour days, usually a week, all depending on what roads and all that in the projects. Also, during the winter, the town is it's not getting any smaller road-wise. There's a lot of new subdivisions coming up. These trucks now, when we go out, we have different routes for them. One route we call the Booney route. We have to go out, we have to load these trucks up, and what happens is we have to backtrack. We run out of material up at the other end of town. So we have to come back, it takes time and all that, and safety concerns, which we've had numerous accidents up at that end of town. So we plan on redesigning the different routes that we have so we can go out and get it taken care of safety-wise, time and money.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the voters? Mr. Lucini.
William Lucini, 45 Keenan Street. As Sean knows, I've done this all my life. Engineer trucks, build trucks. I believe that this is a misapplication. The town does not need 2 10-wheelers. Do they need a couple of new dump trucks? I agree, absolutely, okay? But we're gonna take a quantum leap here into a huge truck, and I just don't see it working. I don't see that you can run it down and go, Sean, and it's right, but 2 10-wheelers? I think a couple of heavy single axles would really work better for you. And I'd be willing to sit with you and go over that if you'd like. I have no problem with that, but I think a couple of 10-wheelers is just too much, way too much. And especially a Freightliner, not that I would, you know, I'd be, you know what I'm saying, I'd rather see a Western Star, but you know, that's the way it goes. So are you gonna buy these as a cookie cutter from MHQ?
But they work together. You buy the frame.
Okay, that's good, but what about the chassis? Are you designing that chassis? Yeah. You are. It's not a cookie cutter.
No, it's not a cookie cutter.
You promised me now.
I got the specs right here.
I'd love to see them.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Not now, but you know, okay. I think it's a misapplication, quite honestly. I've done this all my life, and I would not recommend it. That's all I'm saying, and I'd love to work with you on it.
Mr. Conley?
I just want to make a point. We're going to buy 2 new dump trucks, and when we bought the golf course, we had the PowerPoint. If this was on PowerPoint, we could see what we're getting for our money instead of surmising it. So going for, I'll address that at a selectmen's meeting, but you got 2 voices here. If you have to table it till they sit down and have a meeting, put a motion to table it, because I don't think they need them tomorrow. And do these go out to bid, or do you just go and pick whoever you need? And I'm not being a wise guy when I talk to you. All right.
I recognize it's a little out of the scope, but I just want to make sure I address Mr. Conley's point. Mallory and I have actually been working on it with already the approval of the board, that we're looking at doing PowerPoint presentations on our annual town meetings going forward, because I think it's a very effective communication tool. The negative is the layout. So we can't all sit up here while the screen is down and also be able to display. If you recall, when we did our sessions, there was only Anthony and I during the educational session. We could be over in the corner. Obviously, there's too many of us. And then when we had the special town meeting, we had to sit on the side. So there's some logistics we have to work out. And once we work out those logistics, we're thinking about having the selectmen on one side and the finance committee on the other side from a space standpoint. But we're looking at that because I agree with you, and others agree with you as well, that would be an effective way to communicate.
Thank you. Well,
if you get laptops, you could probably read them from it, whatever. That's all. Only 25,000.
you had a comment? Yep.
Just one other thing, and I think you're on the right track. I believe the town needs an equipment committee that can look at this stuff, work with the highway super, work with the other departments. We spend a lot of money for this, and there's a lot of people in this town that have a lot of knowledge about certain things. And I believe a committee that would do, we have committees for everything. I'm on a few of them, okay? And I think it's very important that we start a committee like that so that we can sit down and go over everything and make sure we're getting the most for our money. $388,000 is a lot of money. I believe you can save off of that number. And I do not believe that MHQ is the way to go with their cookie cutter truck. You can design something better, and believe me, it would be better.
Okay. Jerry?
Okay.
Thanks, John. So when this is one of those things, when it first came to us, we thought, oh my God, you must be joking, $388,000. But then I looked at the age of the present equipment. One truck is 19 years old, the other's 24 years old. They both absolutely need to be replaced. And we're in the position to do that. And we had a discussion with the person that we trust, that would be Sean, about whether or not he was confident that these trucks could operate in the town of West Bridgewater efficiently, and the savings that they bring to the table by going with the larger truck. and that's why we supported him on this, and we still do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I make a motion to table it?
Yes.
Is that appropriate until we can research this and go down the road and try and get a better deal for the town? I'm not saying that, believe me, I'm not trying to kill you here, buddy. But I believe that we should, absolutely, spending that kind of money, take a look at the equipment and see what it is. And I don't believe in MHQ, so.
You can make them.
All right, I'll make a motion to table.
Okay, I need that in writing for the clerk. And motion to table, we have a second as soon as we get it written down. A motion to table is not debatable and requires a 2/3 vote. We know he's writing it down. It's just a simple motion to table. I will take the vote. All those in favor of tabling this motion, please say yes. Yes. Those opposed, please say no. I declare by voice vote that it is a 2/3 vote to table.
Can I speak up?
Yeah.
Just to let you know, I'm coming up front with all this and everything else, and it takes a little time and all that to spec out these trucks, as Billy knows. But also, I could have easily gone another way, but I'm thinking that the townspeople have to know what's going on with the highway department and with what's going on with the money. We're not here to hide anything or whatever. It could have easily gone through Chapter 90, but I don't believe in that from here on. And if I'm going to be in charge or whatever, I want to be up front with everybody, and I want them to know what's going on with their money.
Thank you. Article 33. Mr. Anderson, you're still up. Don't go anywhere. You got another shot.
To move that the town transfer from free cash a sum of $58,000 to be expended by the highway superintendent to purchase a new F-250 with plow.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Regarding the new F-250, it was recommended unanimously 5-0 with 1 abstention. Thank you.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
The reason why I'm asking for this is because the last vehicle has been, it's gone now, it's worn out and all that. And I think that I'm looking for a truck so that I could actually participate as a working superintendent during the summer and the snow by going out. And when I check on the people out there, the independents and the guys, that I participate in certain areas of town, that if I see a problem, I don't see calling people off a route or doing whatever. If I can handle it, I can handle it with a truck. And that goes with hauling or whatever it is.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. The motion carries unanimously. Article 34, Mr. Church.
David Church, 91 South Elm Street, Chair of the Library Trustees. Move that the town transfer from free cash a sum of $45,000 to be expended by the Board of Library Trustees to install railings, sidewalks, front ramp, and related items at the public library.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended unanimously by the FinCom, 6-0.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, at the library, the front sidewalk, we're having a few issues with it. It's starting to heave from the frost, becoming a bit of a safety issue, and then there's also some disability access issues that we want to straighten out also.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call. Yeah,
sorry, actually, there is, it's going to be a matching also. If we get the $45,000, the state's going to match, and it's going to, save us half what.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Welcome. Article 35, Selectman Marrera.
Yeah, move that the town transfer from free cash a sum of $1,497,538 is a change to be placed in the town stabilization fund.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended unanimously, 6-0.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommend unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the article, the motion?
This is the money that we have. It's like having money in the bank that we recently and used it in maybe future years. And so Dave just calculated, and it's more than where we have John, about 2,000, 2 million in stabilization now.
So it's,
Okay.
We'll have to end up with
Or 2,000,005 totally on the stabilization fund.
Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Article 36, Mr. Cabral. Oh, yes. Let me check with town council. Okay, Article 36, Mr. Cabral.
Okay, Article 36, move that the town raise and appropriate a sum of $50,000 to fund the municipal building needs fund.
Is there a second? Finance Committee.
Recommended unanimously, 6-0.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
Basically, it's just reinstating funds we pay for repairs to buildings in town that have not been budgeted, all town-owned buildings except the schools. We've been spending money. We haven't had any more money put in several years. This is just to get some money back into the fund.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Article 37, Mr. Kruger.
Move that the town transfer $38,607.60 in unspent funds of Article 31 of the annual town meeting on June 9, 2014 for the purchase of hydrants and related equipment, and then transfer from water surplus a sum of $9,393 to be expended by the Water Commissioners to pay off and close out said article.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Recommended unanimously.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
This article is just taking the money that was going to be spent on some hydrants and paying off the loan and taking some surplus and paying off the loan so we don't have to make payments on it. There's $28,000 built into the budget every year for maintenance of the system. We only get about 3 leaks a year, so there's a minimal amount of that. Usually the 28, since we built the corrosion control building, I would say about $25,000 of that usually goes to replacing hydrants and gates. And all the gates in town all the broken ones have been replaced. So the need for that extra money, there isn't any real need for it. So we're trying to get the rate down a little bit, so we're trying to get rid of the short-term debt.
Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say yes. All those opposed, no. Passes unanimously. Yes. Okay, you're all set on this one, Mr. Kruger. Yes. Use the microphone, please.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to call for point of order to remove Article 32 and replace it with a motion to raise and appropriate to purchase one new freight liner at a cost of $194,000.
So you're asking to remove it from the table?
I am.
There's a motion to remove Article 32 from the table that was on the 2 Freightliner dump trucks. That's an up or down vote. You can vote by majority to remove it from the table, and then there will be a motion made, or you can reject it. Those in favor of removing, no, right now we're removing it from the table.
So we're going to remove Article 32 from the table first.
It was an article that was put on the table. We tabled it. She's making a point of order to take it off the table, which is up to you, the voters, either to take it off or leave it on.
A point of order is not to make a motion. A point of order is to challenge the chair. If you correct me, a point of order, if she wants to interject into the business, what she's doing is creating a whole new article above and beyond what the people just voted on. If you keep it up, I'll go to the Supreme Court.
No, what she's asking to do, what happened in the Article 32, it was not passed and it was not defeated. It was tabled. If nothing else happens during this meeting, it's tabled forever, it disappears. It has to come back on a new warrant. However, if during the course of this meeting someone moves to take it from the table, because right now, just think of this, it's sitting here on the table, no action was taken. They take it from the table, it's a majority vote, they can vote out there to take it from the table. What that does is puts Article 32 back in front of the voters, and you can either amend it or vote it. She tried to make 2 motions at the same time. It's only one motion right now to remove it from the table. If that's defeated, it's over. If it's not, if it's majority say we want to discuss this more, essentially is what they're saying. If we want to discuss it again, then it's back on the table, and you start from the beginning.
That, Mr. Chairman, that's a motion to reconsider.
No, it's not.
No.
Are you a parliamentarian?
Yes, I have been
You
since
are?
1972.
Where's your credentials?
Sit down.
So, there is a motion to remove it from the table. Is there a second on that motion? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of removing Article 32 from the table, please say yes. Yes. Those opposed to removing it from the table, please say no. No. It is defeated. You got 6 people to go with you. Use the mic.
Do I have 6 people that'll call for a recount with me? Stand up? Oh, I am. Do I have to stand up?
No, she can, Mr. Conley, she can challenge my vote. She can challenge my call of the vote. Are there 6 people who, okay, we have 6.
We have 6.
Okay. We will do this by a standing vote. All those in favor of moving this off the table, please stand. That includes everybody up front who wants to vote too, so. Yeah. Yep. She is a voter in the town of West Bridgewater and can vote on moving it. She's not making a recommendation, she's casting her vote as a citizen. I'm doing it by standing vote. Okay, you may be seated. All those opposed in taking it off the table, please stand. It is defeated. Article 38, Mr. Kruger.
Move that the town transfer from water surplus a sum of $128,000 to be expended by the water commissioners to make a payment toward the debt authorized by Article 30 of the annual town meeting of June 9, 2014 for the purchase of water meters and related equipment.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee?
Recommended unanimously.
Board of Selectmen?
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
This is just another, just trying to get rid of the debt, so they don't have to keep making payments on it and get the water rate down. Like I said before, we dropped the rate now from $250 a year in basic charge down to $160. So we're going to try to keep it down there, but we've got to build another well. We need one bad. So we got to get our debt down.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Article 39, Mr. Kruger.
Move that the town transfer from water surplus a sum of $147,571 to be expended by the water commissioners to convert station number 1 wells into automated submersible pumps, purchase any related equipment, and perform all related electronics, computer, instrumentation, piping, and electrical work.
Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended unanimously.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
What this is the original well down on Sear Street, built in 1948, used to be a vacuum system out of 2.5-inch wells. It was a whole, like 34 of them. Back in the 70s, we put two 24-inch casings down in the ground, tied them together, brought them into the building, and it was still a vacuum system, and it had a horizontal pump. Well, today, it's much more efficient to lift the water out with submersible pumps. And there isn't too many guys these days that really know how to run horizontal pumps on a vacuum system. So the old timers, we used to be able to do it, but it'd be much more efficient to go with submersibles. So that's what we want to do. The wells are good, nothing wrong with them. We just want to put pitless adapters on them and put big pumps down there. And this is going to increase our pumping rate right now, immediately, as soon as they go in, so that we can meet the demand for the summertime.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Article 40, Selectman Marrera.
Move that the town accept the provisions of Chapter 138, Section 12 of the Massachusetts and the laws allowing the sale of liqueurs and cordials by common victuals which hold a license under the said section to sell wine and malt beverages.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended by a majority of the Finance Committee, 5-1.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, this allows people to sell wines and malt beverages who also sell liqueurs and cordials. This has been, I think there was a request that came in if we would entertain such a license, and that's what's before you here tonight.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the voters? Mr. Cabral.
Yeah, just because I'm a little confused. This is restaurants with a
Right.
and is this automatic? Everyone that has a beer and wine license is going to allow, or they have to specifically come and get that?
They'll still have to apply for the license and come before the board and go through the police department for approval like they would with any other liquor license.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Yes. Those opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes, Mr. Mara.
I'd like to just say something. John Duggan is leaving us here.
No,
This is his last
Mr.
town
Mr. Marrera, you're out of order.
Okay.
We have not finished the town meeting.
I will. Okay, sorry.
Article 41. Mr. Anatelli.
Just jumped the gun, huh?
Move that the town amend Article 17, Animal Control Officers of the Town General Bylaws as printed on the warrant.
Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
Recommended to refer to voters.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Mrs. Anatelli, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, the state has written a new dog law back in 2013, and we need to bring our bylaw up to date to compare to the state law. And also, in the meantime, I cleaned up some of the wording and brought some of the fees to make it a little bit more understandable and bring it up to line with some of the other bylaws that we have in town.
Are there any questions or comments from the voters? Mr. Cabral.
Yeah. This is existing bylaws we have, their changes. Are the changes just what's marked off here that's struck out and added? Or are there other changes in here? And if there are, what's being changed from what we have now?
No, it's just what you see in there that's been striked out or been added. Basically, the new dog law for the state requires that you can have 4 dogs in your household before you have to apply for a kennel license, and we say 3, so we're changing that to bring it up to the state. And also, there is a zoning bylaw that requires anybody that wants to get a kennel license has to go in front of the ZBA. We wanted to put that in the bylaw so that if somebody read it, they would understand that. And then just clean up the way the fees were put in there so it's a little bit easier to follow and understand what you owe and what you don't owe.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Article 42, Mrs. Iannatelli.
Move that the town amend Article 18 of the dog leash of the town's general bylaw as printed on the warrant.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Finance Committee.
We voted unanimously to refer to voters.
Board of Selectmen.
Recommended unanimously.
Hugh, would you like to speak to the...
Basically, this is just a cleanup of that because the police actually have different fee structures that are listed in this general bylaw that they charge for any citations or anything for not having your dog on a leash. So I just wanted to clean it up so that it mirrored the police citations.
Yeah. Any questions or comments? Mr. Cabral.
Well, just to confirm, the only changes to this from our current one is the fees, or the fine.
Basically, yeah, because the old bylaw said that it was $20 for the first offense, and actually the police, it's $25. So I wanted to, and basically that's the change. It just brought it up to what they were charging for citations.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say yes. Those opposed, no. It passes unanimously. That is the end of our articles, but the Board of Selectmen have requested a moment of personal privilege before we call for a motion to dissolve. Board of Selectmen.
I would just like to say John has really worked diligently for years for us there as our town treasurer, and you see a lot of the results tonight. And I had the article on the stabilization, and he's done a commendable job, and he's going to be very, very hard to replace. I want to thank John on behalf of the town of West Bridgewater for all the years, and I learned a few things from him. I'd like to know how you can borrow money so cheap there, because I go to a regular bank, and they don't use me like that. And he has the secrets. He did come from a banking business, and he learned a lot there, and he applied it here for the years. It's been a great relation with the town of West Bridgewater, John. I want to thank you very much from all of us in the town of West Bridgewater.
Do we have our money back?
You don't have to sit down if you don't want to, because I'm calling for a motion to dissolve this annual town meeting.
I just wanted to say I want to thank the residents, the retirees, my fellow employees. It's a fantastic town. We heard things tonight. Eldon hired me 25 years ago. This is my 25th town meeting, and it's just been a fantastic place to work in. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you. Now, is there a motion to dissolve this annual town meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. This meeting is dissolved.
Who brings it? What did you say? 91.